Good afternoon, everybody. It's Stephen and Paul from WinExtra bringing you your Microsoft Daily Briefs for January 12th, 2011.
Daily Briefs.
Daily Brief. We're going to be brief.
Yeah, but you said briefs.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm thinking, is Hudson showing his jocks on camera again?
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm not going around stealing other people's underwear. Anyway.
No, that's Sean's
Yes.
job.
Anyway, we got a lot on tap today, which is really kind of strange, but given this middle of the week, hump day and all that. First up, we said yesterday about how Microsoft was backing off from the big Novell purchase of patents. Well, apparently, they're still in there. The false alarm, Microsoft-led group is still buying the Novell patents.
Yeah, apparently they withdrew something about protocol or something or other that they had to do. So open source advocates everywhere can crap their pants once again.
Yes.
A terrible thing to say. All right, moving on from there. Service Pack 1 for Windows 7 release apparently imminent. We had news, obviously, back in November when there was a Service Pack blocker released, but now we're seeing, based on a new KB release that was put out, that is a prerequisite to the Service Pack being released on Windows 7 and 2008 with Server 2008 R2. So, how imminent is another question, but it does look like it's only a matter of updates away.
Yeah. Leads from some interesting ideas of what Microsoft's updating policies being changed and everything. Anyway, one of the things with Windows Phone 7 that many people talked about previously was the Chevron jailbreak, which got pulled after a discussion between Microsoft and the programming crew. Well,
because Microsoft promised to allow sideloading.
Yeah, well, now it's official. The next update for Windows Phone 7 will disable that loophole where the Chevron WP worked. But I also saw on Twitter very quickly that I guess the team behind Chevron WP is going to be meeting with Microsoft prior or around the update time.
Yeah, apparently they're going to Washington to meet them, so...
Yeah.
Should be something interesting comes out of that.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of Windows Phone 7, people have discussed whether or not Microsoft should come out with a standalone gaming platform. Mobile gaming platform, considering, Nintendo has the DS and the 3D version of it and whatnot. It's not going to happen, folks. Microsoft has said it's not going to happen. Windows Phone 7 will be the mobile gaming platform. Now, bear in mind that this does not preclude the existence of an iPod Touch-style Zune Windows Phone 7 device that allows both gaming and music consumption. It just means that there will be no dedicated standalone handheld console.
Yeah. This one I really like. Apparently, I guess Apple has applied for a trademark for the term App Store. And
all together now!
Oh, duh!
Facepalm!
Yes. Microsoft has stepped up and said no, and they are attempting to fight the trademark application.
They kind of have to. I mean, if you think about it, if you could trademark the term App Store, then there's nothing stopping you trademarking Shoe Store or Computer Store, and these are all generic terms that are used, by lots and lots of stores and lots of places. There are lots of app stores out there. They all have different names, but even Steve Jobs has turned around and referred to them as app stores. So you can't exactly go around and try to trademark it afterwards. Oh, then again, this is Steve Jobs, so yeah, he can.
No, I did see one smart-ass remark on Twitter in reference to this, and it basically was saying that, and this is coming from a company that trademarked Windows.
Yeah, but that's a very, very different thing. You can trademark Windows because you're talking about a product.
Yeah.
It is a singular product, and it will never be mistaken for Windows that are installed in a house.
Yeah.
It's two very different things. That's why you can have Apple computers and you can have Apple Music, both with a trademark on Apple.
Yeah.
So, but this is a very different thing. This is like saying, right, only I can use the term shoe store.
Yeah.
So if you sell shoes, you have to come up with a different name for it. Yeah. And that's a very, very different thing. But you know what? It does lend credence to the fact that not only is Microsoft fighting this, but Microsoft has Games for Windows Live, which is essentially an app store for games. They have we will see app stores for IE9. that we may see a Windows-based App Store as well, because why else would they be going into the effort of fighting the trademark?
Another bombshell that dropped late last night, and everybody's just going all woody over this, is that Google is going to drop the H.264 video codec from Chrome.
Yeah, now, the Microsoft IE team have called them out on this. There is a wonderful rebuttal by Tim Sneath. Link in the show notes, folks. Go read it. He's basically re-paraphrased Google's announcement about it, and he just turns it to water, basically. But basically what's happening is Google is dropping H.264 support from future versions of Google Chrome, which means that if you go to a website, like the vast majority of websites that play video, unless they serve it up in WebM or Theora, which are open standards, you won't be able to see it unless the site is set up to play it in a Flash player. And, you know, the guys from Microsoft wrapped it up really well when they said, okay, this is like turning around and saying, you know what, we're going to only support completely open standards. We're only going to support a language that is completely open and completely free, so nobody can ever use English again. You have to use, like, Klingon or Esperanto, you know? And the problem here, what I haven't seen people talking about is this. When it comes to the difference between these open codecs versus H.264, yes, with H.264 there is a licensing fee, but these open codecs have not yet been tested in court to see whether or not they violate patents. Next, the mobile browser world relies on H.264 because these codecs are less efficient than H.264, require more processing power, and if you pick up your cell phone, your mobile phone, and you try to watch a video on it, the chances are that video is undergoing hardware decoding. There's a little chip in there that hardware decodes H.264. Yeah. These other codecs don't have that, so there's a direct performance impact on your computer because the hardware support isn't there for those codecs.
I'm working on a post right now. I just basically I'm being a little tongue-in-cheek, much like Tim Sneath was, but is Chrome going to become Google's Internet Explorer 6?
No, I don't think so. I think Chrome is sort of more... I think they're trying to be too idealistic with Chrome. And now that Chrome has hit a fairly large market share, they're sort of like, okay, well, now's the time to push our codec. And it's backwards in terms of real-world use, because in the real world, everybody uses H.264. Yeah. It is the dominant platform, you know? So, no, I don't know. I don't get it. There are other arguments, too, as to why this is absolutely silly, and I had another one, I just can't think of it right now, but let's move on.
Much is being made of Bob Muglia's being tossed out the door. I wrote about it yesterday being a pissing match in the boardroom. But Financial Times had an interesting post up there just before showtime, as a matter of fact, it showed up. Apparently, Ballmer's window of opportunity to prove his worth is closing very, very quickly.
Yeah, grumblings from the board. Now, it doesn't mean at all that Ballmer's job is on the line, but, you know, we've seen over the last year that they have sent messages to Ballmer. They cut his bonus because of failure to perform in a tablet market, etc. And there's grumblings coming from the board. Now, normally these grumblings stay well within and behind closed doors. But the fact that some of these are getting out means that they're sending a message to Ballmer that is basically saying, you need to up your game, Sonny Jim. Now, there's very little chance of Ballmer going in the short term, you know, unless Bill Gates happens to get pissed off at him, because he still pulls all the strings on that board.
Yeah.
But, you know, it does show that the board is itching for more performance and that Ballmer is under pressure to perform more. Now, we saw them bring in this life coach for Ballmer. We've seen him cut his bonus. So, you know, they're sending all the messages that he needs to stop being MonkeyBoy and start waking up and moving with the times. But that then raises the question, which came up in another post today. Considering the exodus of Muglia, we've lost Ozzy, we've lost so many leaders
visionary leaders too, to a certain extent.
Yeah, well, Muglia wasn't a visionary leader. He was Ozzy's general.
Yeah, but he was well respected by the industry.
Oh, he was well respected. Yeah, there's no doubting that. But there's been so many losses recently that, and we've discussed this before even these losses happened. Who's going to replace Farmer?
Yeah. And
there's only one player left, and he's kind of left now by default.
Yeah, Steve
by
Sinofsky.
de facto, and that's Steve Sinofsky. And he's also the only one of these people who have left who's managed to build two, $10 billion plus businesses inside Microsoft. But will he even want the job? Will he even take it? I know the money is huge, but considering what he has done, he could probably go somewhere else and make make more money not running Microsoft. You know what I mean?
Google or one of those other companies will snap him up without a doubt.
Yeah. But this won't come to fruition, I think, until Windows 8 is released. Yeah. And but between now and then, it raises a lot of opportunities for speculation which we want to hear from the viewers and the listeners about. So, drop us an email, podcast@winextra.com, or, leave us a comment anywhere on the page or on the show notes if you're watching on YouTube. We'd love to know.
Yeah, and on that note, folks, we will call today's edition of Daily Brief to a close. I'm Stephen. That's Paul. This has been Daily Briefs for January 12th, 2011. Take care, everyone.
Have a good one, folks.